Hey guys, it's Scott with Scottie B Cards, and in this video, we'll look at 3 underperforming players and seeing what's happening to their baseball cards. Okay, so like I mentioned in the introduction, we're looking at 3 different players. I want to see what is going on with these 3 different players' baseball cards. All 3 of these players had very high hopes heading into the 2024 baseball season. And I'm not saying these players are bad or they're going to have a terrible career. All I'm going to do is point out why they're performing poorly in my opinion, and then discussing what's going on with their cards. I'm not making any predictions, but we're going to look at it. Very first is Julio Rodriguez. It surprises me how bad this year has been so far. One thing I want to say first before we dive too deep into his stats and cards, he's historically been a better second half player. And that's great. That's really great, but your first half has to be better than this. Every year, if you come in and you struggle and people are saying, oh, wait till the second half, it's going to be hard to maintain value. Juan Soto kind of had that a little bit prior to this year, where he's been good since the start of the season. But with Julio, it's been a pretty brutal beginning of the season. We can see an 87 OPS plus, hitting 251 with 7 home runs, a slugging percentage of 333. His OBP is over 300, which is better than being under 300, obviously. But overall, slugging under 350 is really under 400, under 450 for Julio, you could say. It's really surprising for an OPS plus below league average of 87. Here is his Fangraphs information. We can see they have an 87 WRC plus, kind of the same thing as OPS plus. So what's going on, right? 1 WAR, 1.2 WAR, still providing very good value as a defensive center fielder. And overall on the base paths, according to Baseball Reference, he's been pretty good. Fangraphs does not like him quite as much. If you look at his baseball savant pages over the years, here he is in 2022, 2023. We can see batting run value, which is a sum of all of this and actual produced runs, is really solid. 94th percentile, one of the best in Major League Baseball. Last year was a small step backwards, but that's because he struggled throughout the first part of the season. So we figured, okay, this year he's gonna have a good year and that will be higher. Before I show you what this year's looks like, I want to show you a few more things. Base running value was 86th percentile and 96th percentile the last 2 years respectively. Lots of pull home runs. We can see a lot of his home runs, a majority are pull both years, right? We can see a ton straight way to left field, and he's been pretty good that way. Well, this is this year. He's only had, I would say, 1 true pull home run. These other ones are kind of left center. This even could be categorized as left center. He only has 7 home runs again through basically July, well, end of June. We're at end of June now. It's July 1st tomorrow. And he hasn't pulled 1 home run, like actually pulled down the line. And that's kind of been his issue, in my opinion. Also, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doubles this year so far. Lots of singles, and that's why his slug is so low. So you can see a lot of things are dropping, but the one thing I want to point out is that his average exit velocity has dropped quite a bit. On top of that, he's basically not been barreling the ball as much. 62nd percentile. Still good sprint speed, still good defense, but even his base running has taken a step back. If we look at this is actually his baseball savant. Again, these 2 things, I just want to show you everything that's taken a step backwards. Barrel percentage is 8.5 versus 11 and 12 and 13 respectively. Barrels per plate appearance is 5.6 versus 8. A barrel is hitting the ball at a specific mile an hour at a specific launch angle, which usually is a hit. Usually it's extra bases, a home run or a double normally. Barrels can be outs, but that's how you can determine if you're hitting the ball hard and well. If we look over here as well, we can see basically everything is down. Hard hit is slightly down. His strikeout rate is up. His walk rate is down. But this is what I mentioned earlier in regards to pull. He's actually been pulling the ball 39.2 and 39.5% of the time in 2022 and 2023. Only 30%, less than 31% so far this year. So am I saying that he's done for it? No, not at all. He could have the most hot second half ever and his cards will bounce back. And he's only 23 years old, so let's not overreact. But the market is overreacting. And so we can see right here, he is down overall from, according to market movers, about 27.4% in regards to pricing in the last year. So since last year to right now, he's down about 28%. Here is his Bowman Chrome autograph PSA 10 over this is actually all time since 2019. You can see it got about like 3,000, 2,500 to 3,000, and now it's currently sitting about $800, and that's within a year. So that sucks. That's really brutal if you bought into him. If we look at the last 2 years, it's showing that a little bit better as well, down 60%. 58.12%. And then the last 12 months, it's not quite as dramatic because he had the slow start at the beginning of last year as well. Picked it up in the second half. He was sitting around $2,000, and even in the preseason, he was about $1,500, and now he's down to about $800. So there was even a sell at basically $600 prior to this last sell. If we look at his Bowman Chrome Gold autograph, this is all time as well. We can see this card got over $20,000, and now the last sale was right at, what was it? $6,300 was the last sale. So we saw a huge drop, and I don't see that stopping if he does not perform, which he has all of the potential capabilities to. And the Mariners are still number one in their division, which is fantastic because their pitching is so great. And if Julio can step it up, they're going to be even more of a juggernaut. If we look at the last 2 years, here is what it looks like, down 55%. It went over $20,000. And in the last 12 months, it did already drop to about $10,000, but now we're even further towards $6,000. So that is Julio Rodriguez. That's number one of a player I'm concerned about and surprised about who struggled. And I was not concerned with his early struggles because he was a slow starter, but now we're more than halfway through the season. And speaking of players that I was not worried about at the beginning of the year, but I'm worried now, is Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll is having a significantly worse year than Julio Rodriguez. He has 0.3 WAR, and the reason for that is while he's good in the base paths, he's a horrible defender. And that might not be fair. He's not a great defender. He has a noodle arm. He can't really do much in regards to holding runners, getting the outfield assist, all those different things. He's very fast, one of the fastest players in baseball, but this year has been even more brutal for Corbin Carroll with only 2 home runs, and we are through June. So April, May, June, 3 months. That's less than 1 home run a month. That stinks. A .213 batting average, a .313 slug, a .617 OPS, and a 78 OPS plus. If you look at his last 2 years, he was consistently a 130 OPS plus guy, only 2 seasons, but still a far cry from hitting 25 home runs last year. And I think Corbin Carroll is actually pretty easy to know what's going on with him, and that's injury. So here we can see Corbin Carroll before and after his injury. So on July 7th of last year, he took a big swing and he was like, and like really in pain. And I would show it, but I legally can't because Major League Baseball has been striking a lot of people's videos, so I'm not going to do that. And we all thought he was done for the season, needed to get like rotator cuff surgery, fix his shoulder, but he was back in the lineup like the next couple days. But ever since that injury, he has not been the same guy. So I think he's actually swinging different, knowing that his shoulder's not the same, or it's just bugging him. I'm not sure, but we can see in 116 games between August 29th of 2022 when he made his Major League debut and when he actually got hurt. In that time frame, he was the 6th most valuable baseball player in Major League Baseball with 4.8 WAR, just behind Mike Trout, just ahead of Shohei Ohtani and Wander Franco. But either way, he's having a big year. And we can see that 22 home runs were actually hit during that span. Now we can look after his injury from July 8th up until yesterday, and we can actually see he only has 9 home runs, 2.7 WAR, a lot of which is actually from running on the base paths, and his WRC plus is 97. Pre-injury was a 142. After the injury is 97. I am a lot more concerned about Corbin Carroll because of that injury history with his shoulder than I am Julio. But with that being said, his cards have significantly reflected that drop, down 60%, 59.5% according to market movers. And here is his Bowman Chrome Gold autograph. It had a high just around $5,500. Now it's going for, the last sale was about $1,700 or so. So really big drop there as well. Overall, since the all time, it looks good. But if we do it from the last 2 years, we can see it's down 62%, 61% I should say. And in the last 12 months, he is down 70% because at this time last year, he had not had his shoulder injury yet. So down 70% on his gold Bowman Chrome autograph. Here is his PSA 10. We're just going to skip to the last 2 years, down 38%. And his PSA 10 for his Bowman Chrome autograph is down 71%. And that's because it is currently selling for about $300 flat, almost $313. So a huge drop in his values. Is this one more justifiable than Julio? Yes. Could he figure it out because he's only 23 years old? Yes. Am I positive and optimistic of that? Honestly, as he fixes something with his shoulder, not really, because he has lost all power essentially, which was a really valuable thing for a player of his profile. And lastly is Ronald Acuna Jr. I'm not going to go into his stats. We know he had a tough year. We know he tore his ACL, and it might not be fair to include him, but regardless, I just want to look back since he got hurt. What's happened with his cards, right? So in the last 90 days, he's down 21%. Last 365 days, down 33%. If we look at his bat down in a PSA 10, this card was around $750. We We also have his gold PSA 10 update. That card was around $725. If we actually look now, the bat down is sitting right at $500-ish, $530, while the gold is actually sitting higher, but the last sale was on June 10th, so nothing recently, and that one was at $599. So again, that is down. And then here is his Bowman Chrome autographs in the last 2 years, down 34%, last 1 year down 35%, the last 3 months since he's been injured, he is down 28%. With his refractor, this is a PSA 10 refractor. Here is a recent sale on June 18th. I thought this was a really good one because this was prior to the injury, and really after his slow start wasn't really impacting his card values. His PSA 10 refractor is going for $4,000. Now we are currently sitting at $2,400. So about a $1,500 loss in just that short of a time frame. This just shows that baseball is hard. Some players like Julio should be doing good, and I think he'll figure it out personally. Some players like Acuna are absolutely injured, and some like Corbin Carroll maybe just be underperforming because of hidden injuries that aren't publicly discussed. But other than that, let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on these 3 players. I'm going to be releasing an optimistic video on players like Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson, who are doing good so far this year, better than expectations, and what's going on with their cards probably next week. And I will see you in the next video. What is going on outside? There's just fireworks.